So today on Month of Macross, we're going to take a quick look at one of my all-time favorites, Macross Plus. Released in 1994, Macross Plus was a 4-episode original video animation, or OVA, that takes place roughly 30 years after the original series. Though being the first true sequel to the series, Macross Plus focuses on an entirely new cast of characters. Yeah, I know Macross 2 Lovers Again was technically released before this, but it's so far removed from the original timeline. At least in Macross Plus, we get to see the original Macross in all its glory. Anyways, Macross Plus is the story of rival test pilots as Samu Dyson and Gold Bowman and the love triangle they form with their childhood friend, Myung. While as Samu and Gold duke it out above the clouds in their awesome variable fighters, we learn that Myung manages the digital pop idol Sharon Apple, whose trance-inducing music and advanced artificial intelligence are slowly becoming more and more unstable as the series progresses. And while we're talking about music, I have to give props to Yoko Kanno for her work on the soundtrack. She's worked on a number of animes, including Escaflowne and Cowboy Bebop, but her work on Macross Plus is absolutely pulse-pounding, and nothing like the music we'd hear in later Macross series. It's also worth noting that the series was co-directed by Macross creator Shoji Kanamori and Shinichiro Watanabe, who you might know best as the director for both Samurai Champloo and Cowboy Bebop. For only being 4 episodes, Macross Plus really stands out from the rest of the franchise due to its gorgeous animation, well-developed love triangle, and exotic soundtrack. One of the more interesting facts behind the series is that it was actually released in the West. I guess Harmony Gold somehow missed it? Anyways, Macross Plus even got an English dub, which actually isn't half bad. But the real icing on the cake is this Samu's English voice actor, who just happens to be Bryan Cranston. That's right, before he was Walter White on Breaking Bad, Cranston was primarily a voice actor, and worked on a number of series including Power Rangers. Macross Plus was eventually re-edited into a 2-hour movie called Macross Plus Movie Edition, which included some new animation, a couple of new songs, but overall it's not too terribly different from the original OVA. So I actually own the original OVA on DVD, however the quality, it's not that great. So I'm hoping we can get a Western Blu-ray release in the near future. Also, if you really like Macross Plus, in Japan they released a video game based off the series for the PlayStation 1, and if you're a fan of arcade shoot-'em-ups, there's also an arcade version of Macross Plus. It's a pretty simple game, but still fun nevertheless. Oh yeah, and who could forget about the mechs in this series? So on the left here, we've got the YF-19, which is pretty cool. It's got a inverted wing design. In Badroid mode, it's got a gun pod, it's got a shield, and it's actually able to utilize a pinpoint barrier system similar to the actual Macross. So basically, if it loses its shield, it can manipulate energy shield at certain points on the fighter. On the opposite side, we've got the YF-21, a very sleek, cool-looking variable fighter. Now, its wings are actually kind of variable, so rather than just moving the wings forward and backward, they can actually kind of change shape and size based on the needs, whether it needs more lift or more speed. But perhaps the coolest thing about the YF-21 is that it is controlled by brainwaves. So what's actually really interesting is that the rival development between the YF-19 and the YF-21 in Macross Plus is actually based on the real-life rival development that led to the creation of the F-22 Raptor, which is used by the United States military. Macross Plus is often hailed as the top gun of anime, and rightly so. Personally, this is my second favorite series after Macross Do You Remember Love? I've always found it interesting that despite Macross Plus being one of the shortest entries in the entire franchise, I've watched and rewatched this series dozens of times because it's just so entertaining. That'll do it for today's episode of Month of Macross. If you haven't seen Macross Plus, please go see it. Yeah, it's kind of short, but it's extremely satisfying. So take a couple hours and go check it out. I promise you won't regret it. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you on the next and final episode of Month of Macross here on Part-Time Samurai.